$5.
The Emmy-nominated Late Show with Stephen Colbert, weeknights on CBS.
We got fire!
Stand back!
I need you to cut me loose.
Grab my hand, boy! Hellfire's coming to you!
Fire Country, Fridays on CBS, and binge every episode on Paramount+.
Check your cameras. Trust only the best. Protect your family, home, or business with 24/7 armed response.
Perimeter secure.
Remember, AmeriGuards it.
The CBS 47 studio is sponsored by Epic Nights at Table Mountain Casino Resort. Eyewitness News starts now.
Caught on body cam video, a terrifying scene for police officers in the Southland as a stolen car chase turns into multiple officers injured. And to the south of our area, Tulare Lake, they say that half of it has already receded. So now, what is the worry for officials?
This is Murrow and Emmy Award-winning CBS 47 Eyewitness News at 11.
Good evening. I'm Esteban Reynoso. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Nearly 6 months after the initial flooding of the Tulare Lake Basin, the water has mostly dried up, but still challenges remain, and there's a long road ahead to recovery for the region. CBS 47's Ben Morris joins us now with more.
Where I'm standing at this exact moment was completely underwater only months ago, but even though the water has receded, there are still tens of thousands of acres still underwater here in the basin. Take a look at the dramatic difference here between this point on 6th Avenue south of Corcoran now versus the same spot in early May.
Well, there's been drastic receding of water. It's dropped dramatically. At its height, it was about 120,000 acres flooded, and we're down under 50,000 now.
While this area is not exactly reminiscent of its former self, the receding water is a step in the right direction. However, multiple roads in the region remain difficult or impossible to drive on.
A lot of the roads are still in disarray. The water wreaked havoc on them. I know our roads department are working on getting those repaired so they can be traveled again. And there's still some roads that are flooded down there. So again, if the road is closed, again, we're telling people don't drive around the barricade and drive into the water.
And while it's a vastly different scene for farmland that once looked like a seemingly endless ocean, much of the damage has already been done, leaving millions of dollars in damage to crops and fields.
It'll take some time to rebuild all that, but you know, our farming community is really resilient, and I know they're going to come back better than ever down there.
Even though there are still tens of thousands of acres underwater in the basin here, Farrier says we could be looking at the rest of it drying up by the end of this winter. Reporting in Kings County, Ben Morris, CBS 47 Eyewitness News.
Ben, thank you. And tomorrow we're honoring the men and women killed on 9/11, including honoring all of the first responders who not only lost their lives, but are still suffering today from that aftermath. Volunteers put up flags along Never Forget Lane in Clovis this week. Now, this year will mark 22 years since the attack. We're told on Monday, tomorrow, September 11th, there will be a special ceremony featuring a wreath-laying, 21-gun salute, and a flyover as well. This will all be held at 8:30 a.m. The organization says they will need volunteers again to help fold all of these flags and take them down on September 16th. Now here's a look at some of the ceremonies of remembrance that will be happening all over the valley tomorrow. The largest ceremony is in Fresno, which we just told you about. That was near Peach Avenue and Pontiac Way. It begins at 8:30 Monday morning, and they will honor a former Port Authority officer who survived being buried under the rubble of the World Trade Center, and they will be the guest speaker. Fresno City College will have a ceremony at 9 a.m. in front of the Veterans Peace Memorial near the corner of Weldon and College Avenues. It will include the traditional ringing of the bell for fallen firefighters. And there's also a ceremony that will be held in front of the Tulare Sheriff's Office in Visalia at 8 in the morning. Deputies and firefighters will hold a moment of silence and a ringing of the bell as well. Happening around the state, a 10-mile-long pursuit that started in northeast Los Angeles ended with the suspect shot by officers and in custody. It all started after the man stole a utility truck, but things turned dangerous for officers in a hurry. Lori Perez has the latest.
In a video filled with intensity, this might be the most terrifying moment. Watch as a suspect in a stolen LA DWP truck uses it to go through officers. Cameras in the cruisers and body worn, showing the SUV ramming the police cars with officers inside. Multiple angles, each more frightening than the last. 3 officers were hurt in this part of the chaos that came at the end of a more than 10-mile-long pursuit in the early evening of August 9th. Go. It started in Pacoima with officers following the DWP truck after getting multiple 911 calls about it hitting cars and fleeing, allegedly crashing into a house and taking off. They followed it on and off the 5 to this Atwater Village business park where, from another view, this happened. And cops on foot gave chase and opened fire, surrounding the SUV and asking the driver to surrender, thinking the truck was done.
The car's disabled, bro. It's not going anywhere.
Until it wasn't. Again, body-worn camera from multiple officers captured the moment LAPD unleashed on a suspect in an SUV, driving right through them. The heavy rounds and shouting, adding to the bedlam as officers on foot followed the fleeing SUV a block away, where the suspect barricaded himself inside before the SWAT team arrived and took 28-year-old Manuel Ramirez of LA into custody. He had been shot and has since been treated and released from a local hospital.
And also happening around the state, sick and dead sea lions have been washing ashore in Northern California beaches, much more than experts say is usually what they see. And it's because most of them are infected with leptospirosis. It's a contagious bacteria that can survive for weeks or even months in water or soil. At least 20 dead sea lions have been found around Bodega Bay and Fort Bragg. Now, while not all of them have been confirmed to be infected, the Marine Mammal Center says they are seeing it a lot more. These are sea lions that have been recovering from this at their Sausalito hospital there.
Just because of the severity of the disease, by the time these animals are coming ashore, about 1/3 are returned back to the wild. And that's only because the disease has really taken root by the time they are coming ashore.
If a dog does get infected, there's usually a 1 to 2 week delay in symptoms. Those symptoms can include fever and kidney and liver failure. If your dog is around water often, there is a vaccine for leptospirosis. In Morocco, rescue efforts are continuing today. The World Health Organization says over 300,000 people have been affected by this earthquake, which is the worst earthquake to hit Morocco in over 6 decades. Haley Ott has the latest in those recovery efforts.
Fearing aftershocks, for many in Morocco's historic city of Marrakesh, the safest place to rest since Friday's powerful earthquake has been under the stars. Families lined the streets for a second night last night after many of their homes were damaged or destroyed. This is suffering, one resident says. To enter the ancient city and witness the collapsed homes and see people in great pain, it's a painful experience. Another resident whose house is still standing says he fears it's too damaged to be safe. I returned to my house and noticed many cracks in the walls, he says. I can't sleep there. Friday's massive 6.8 magnitude earthquake sent people fleeing into the streets as buildings cracked and crumbled around them. Canadian tourist Jana Meerman was visiting Marrakesh and felt the ground shake.
There are fears of aftershocks, so we're trying to see what happens next.
With thousands dead and injured, for many, the hope is that the toll doesn't get worse.
I'm keeping my finger crossed that the number does not keep rising up.
Morocco has declared 3 days of national mourning as the search for survivors continues. Rescue workers are trying to help people in remote mountain villages that were hit the hardest, where power and the internet has been cut off. Haley Ott, CBS News, New York.
A local Central Valley woman is sharing her journey with us as she fights through a life-altering disease. Coming up, how a passion for making blankets is helping her make it through. And a major world leaders summit was missing 2 major key world leaders as tensions with, quote, Cold War tactics rise. We'll explain on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
According to StopBullying.gov, about 20% of students ages 12 to 18 experience bullying nationwide.
I'm Pastor Joby Jones. We are concerned about the recent rise of bullying and harassment in our schools and communities.
All of our school children, teachers, and administrators deserve respect. Our children are our future leaders and need to be guided and protected.
If you are being bullied, contact the League of United African American Citizens or Stop the Violence Fresno.
Some people love adventure, and then there's Gilbert. Who knows what brought him to Table Mountain? But one thing for sure, it wasn't confidence. He looked around. What catches his eye? Blackjack. His first hand, 2 aces. So naturally, he splits them.
The book says to split them.
And guess what? Hits on both, gets paid. Hey, Gilbert, meet adventure. Another lucky day. Table Mountain Casino Resort.
The price tag of higher education.
Spanning 4 years, that is a 6-figure bachelor's degree.
Where is all that money going, and is it even worth it to dish out all that cash? America's college crisis. This week on Morning in America.
There's no aspect of this job that I haven't done. There is a huge advantage in that. This time I'm going to be on the insurgent side, to change the game, to be different. New perspective, new purpose, new network. That's News Nation.
We're for the fashion-forward and the budget-minded. Back-to-school shopping at Tulare Outlets will be easy with over 40 of the world's biggest brands at up to 70% off. We're all about the thrill of the deal and the joy of finding this year's hottest items. From new backpacks to fresh kicks for the playground. You can find it all in one spot with great savings. Shop at Tulare Outlets for back-to-school, just off Highway 99. Go to TulareOutletCenter.com for more info.
At rallies, I'm in the driver's seat. I'm thinking I want something big. Hit me with that double meat and cheese Big Buford. Woo! Actually, give me a second one for just $1 more. Bang! I want all the flavor. The Big Buford. Load it up. Buy one, get one Buford for $1? Absolutely. Legendary. Am I right? Whatever you order, own it at Rallies. Now half off regular size classic slushies.
Eyewitness News is brought to you in part by The Bone Store. This is CBS 47 Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. We are less than a week away from Central Valley Asians Crafts Fair. Dozens of vendors will be there to sell their crafts, including one Clovis woman who lost the use of most of her body for several years after she was diagnosed with a rare disease. Tonight, our CBS 47's Rhett Rodriguez spoke with her about how she is still pushing through despite these challenges.
Doing the crafts, it gives me a sense of purpose and like what I'm supposed to be doing.
Ellen Inouye wasn't always living life out of a wheelchair. She was once a normal high school senior until she was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome in 2017.
Everything was pretty normal-ish until she turned 17. And that's when she stopped competitive gymnastics, and then the disease took over.
Ellen's mom, Susie, has been taking care of her every step of the way since her diagnosis. The syndrome has affected her skin, joints, and blood vessels. It took away her use of her arms and legs and her ability to talk, forcing her to put her entire life on hold.
I was kind of just laying there like questioning what am I going to do.
6 years later, after several surgeries to her neck and spine, she has regained limited use of her arms and legs. This picture was the first time she was able to raise her arms above her head after her surgeries. Now at 24 years old, after regaining the use of her body, she now makes custom blankets and soaps. Each blanket she makes has more than 20,000 stitches, and her soaps are specifically made for others battling the same disease as herself.
If it has a perfume or something in it, then she can have an anaphylactic reaction, so not be able to breathe, and affects her heart and things. So she started making soap to share with her other friends.
While others would have given up battling this disease, Ellen chooses to fight through for every stitch and carve she can make with her hands.
It's a blessing. That's the best way to put it.
If you would like to buy one of Ellen's blankets or soaps, you can visit her booth next Saturday at the Central Valley's Asian Craft Fair. In the studio, Rhett Rodriguez, CBS 47 Eyewitness News.
What a cool story. Thank you, Red. The National Park Service wants drivers to be aware of wildlife when visiting Yosemite. 14 bears have been hit by cars so far this year. The Park Service says just last week a cub was hit and killed near the Yosemite Creek drainage along Tioga Road. Many other animals also cross Tioga Road, and if you are visiting Yosemite at all, please drive the speed limits and use caution in the dawn and dusk hours when wildlife is active and difficult to see. President Biden is wrapping his overseas trip after stops at the G20 summit in India and a stop in Vietnam. It comes as new polling finds how Americans feel about our elected officials when it comes to their age. Christian Benavides has more.
President Biden in Hanoi Sunday meeting with Vietnamese leader Nguyen Phu Trong, seeking to strengthen ties between the two nations. Vietnam's top leaders are eager to establish what they call a comprehensive strategic partnership. It comes as U.S.-Chinese tensions persist, with China accusing the U.S. of a Cold War mentality by looking to build partnerships with other nations in the region.
I don't want to contain China. I just want to make sure we have a relationship with China that is on the up and up, squared away.
Still, while Mr. Biden was in India Saturday for the G20 summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping was noticeably absent, also skipping the summit, Russia's Vladimir Putin. In a joint statement, the organization meant to represent the top 20 world leaders did not explicitly call out Russia's aggression against Ukraine, instead focusing on the suffering of the Ukrainian people.
No, I think it's very important that the G20 spoke as one. I mean, to some extent, maybe it's the G19 because obviously Russia is also here. It's part of the G20. But the fact that we have a statement coming out collectively, again, affirming the importance of Ukraine, its territorial integrity, its sovereignty, that speaks loudly.
Back home, a new CBS News poll found more than 3/4 of Americans, no matter their political affiliation, favor maximum age limits for elected officials. And just over half say the job of president or senator is too demanding for someone over the age of 75. Christian Benavides, CBS News.
Back here in the Valley, a four-time Super Bowl champion was in Fresno today. Coming up, the 49ers legend that came to Fresno to raise money and donations for local organizations. We'll show you the experience that fans had. Plus, it's going to be pretty warm this week. You're looking at mid-90s as we start to dip into fall. But here's a look at your 4-day allergy forecast brought to you by Boz Allergy, Asthma, and Sinus Center. You're looking at medium-high levels over the next 4 days. Stay with us.
We are at Best RV, the largest RV center in the state of California. If you're new to RVing or if you've been doing it for years, this is the place to come. We're with Niles, and Niles, we all know that it comes down to price and selection. But take a look at this. I mean, you have rows and rows to choose from.
Yes, almost exit to exit, almost a mile. And we have all of it from Class A, Class B, Class C, travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy hauler, destination trailers, even a pop-up tent trailers.
You've got it all, and we are centrally located in Turlock, right off Highway 99. It's very convenient, but you can start that RV journey by shopping online from home.
Yes, they could go to our website at bestrv.com. They could check the models, pictures, photo, price, and all the specification they need. They could contact us by email or by phone, or they could come in person and check it out.
You can answer all their questions. Thanks a lot, Niles. Some great information. During our end of summer sales event, 2023 RVs priced at 50% off MSRP. So go to bestrv.com today.
McMuffin, McGriddles, biscuit, breakfast burrito. We'd say pick one, but there's no need. We have enough breakfast here for everyone to have a good morning.
Start your morning off right and buy a sausage McMuffin with egg or sausage burrito and get the second one for just $1 and add a medium iced coffee for $2.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Isn't it time? Time to breathe new life into that tired kitchen or bath. Whether you already have something in mind or you're looking for a fresh idea, your first call should be to Nelson Dye Remodeling Specialists. Nelson Dye has been crafting exceptional kitchens and baths for more than 65 years. And when they blend their imagination with your vision, the result will be extraordinary. Nelson Dye Remodeling Specialists. Because it's time.
If your child is having trouble getting enough sleep, Kgpe Health Sleep Center can help. The Sleep Center specializes in pediatric sleep studies and can help your child have more energy and attention throughout the day. Contact your doctor for a referral.
Now, your CBS 47 pinpoint weather forecast.
Happy Sunday evening, everybody. It was a pretty nice day out there. Not too bad. A little bit cooler than we had yesterday, but still much the same. We are kind of in a copy and paste this weekend, really this weekend. Now, here's a look at our Valley Cam here at Palm and Herndon, and the camera did just freeze right now, but it's still a really good live view of what we have going on for our conditions outside. So we are seeing really clear skies, nothing too crazy out there. We did have some scattered showers really in our northern areas and closer to the Sierra Nevadas that overnight because of some scattered showers that went through. However, temperature-wise, that's the big story. We are just slightly above average. However, the lows for tonight are going to be way above average. You're looking at an 8-degree difference for overnight with just a 3-degree difference during the day. So we do have that kind of that really warm temperatures that we're having. They're sticking around throughout the nighttime. We're not cooling off too much. However, here's a look at your next 2 days. So we do have some of those scattered showers that are coming off over the coast there, but we don't have any movement over the Central Valley, especially even in the mountains in the Nevadas, which is good for those potential lightning storms that we would have had. They seem to be going away now, which is the good news. For much of the valley floor, though, you're looking at really clear, really nice and clear skies for the most part. As for right now, it's 82 in Fresno, 81 in Hanford. You're looking at low to mid 70s throughout the rest of the valley, 78 in Visalia, 75 in Porterville as well. So still pretty warm out there, and the temperatures aren't going to dip too low either throughout the nighttime. You're looking at 63 in Madera, 66 in Coalinga, 70 in Fresno, which is as cold as it's going to get. So it could help those early morning temperatures tomorrow on your commute. However, it is going to be warmer tomorrow. It starts to heat up a lot faster because we're not dipping to those 65, 66 degrees. We're dipping up all the way down to 70 here, as you see. As for tomorrow, though, like I said, kind of a copy and paste. We hit 96 today, 97 in Fresno tomorrow, 98 in Lemoore and Hanford, 96 in Visalia, Porterville, Coalinga up in the north. You're just slightly cooler, 94 in Merced and Los Banos as well. But up in the mountains, could be a nice day if you have the day off to head up to Yosemite at 79 degrees, especially if we're going to be out there for all of those 9/11 honoring ceremonies. That's something that you do want to take into consideration. That's why most of them are in the morning, because you do want to get out there as it is still as cool as possible. As for our air quality, you're looking at good air quality in Merced and Madera, moderate in Fresno, Kings, Tulare, and Sequoia. So nothing too major to keep on track for the air quality. It's basically pretty normal for this time of year, which is good. But here's a look at our 7 days. So looking forward, we did see a little bit of a heat up for tomorrow at 97, but then things start to cool down and level down really throughout the rest of the week. You're looking at 93 on Tuesday, 93 next Saturday, and we really only get up to about 95 degrees on Friday. That's going to be the hottest day of this week, other than tomorrow. As for the mountain areas, you could see it's still pretty nice up there. 74 tomorrow, then you go up to 76, then 77 days back to back. So we are kind of in that happy day.
To surrender to him to such a degree that God would speak to you in a very unusual and a very powerful way. Something you would go in your life. To be found. disciples of all the nations. Remember, we didn't have airplanes, we didn't have trains, we didn't have fans, we didn't have automobiles. We had